People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth.
Learn the song so you can go out and do it yourself. They're really powerful, they're really motivational, and they're a lot of fun.
They try to stop us, but we keep coming back.
Hello, my name is Stanley Heller. Welcome to The Struggle. The climate strike on September 20th was a great success. 4 million people all around the world participated. Over 150 countries, all 7 continents. A few days afterwards, Greta Thunberg spoke at the United Nations in a brilliant speech, just about 5 minutes long.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean. Yet you all come to us young people for hope. How dare you? You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words, and yet I'm one of the lucky ones. People are suffering. People are dying. Entire ecosystems are collapsing. We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you? For more than 30 years, the science has been crystal clear. How dare you continue to look away and come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight? You say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that. Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe. The popular idea of cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance of staying below 1.5 degrees and the risk of setting off irreversible chain reactions beyond human control. 50% may be acceptable to you, but those numbers do not include tipping points, most feedback loops, additional warming hidden by toxic air pollution, or the aspects of equity and climate justice. They also rely on my generation sucking hundreds of billions of tons of your CO2 out of the air with technologies that barely exist. So a 50% risk is simply not acceptable to us, we who have to live with the consequences. To have a 67% chance of staying below a 1.5 degrees of global temperature rise, the best odds given by the IPCC, the world had 420 gigatons of CO2 left to emit back on January 1st, 2018. Today, that figure is already down to less than 350 gigatons. How dare you pretend that this can be solved with just business as usual and some technical solutions? With today's emissions levels, that remaining CO2 budget will be entirely gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solutions or plans presented in line with these figures here today, because these numbers are too uncomfortable, and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is. You are failing us, but the young people are starting to understand your betrayal. The eyes of all future generations are upon you. And if you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you. We will not let you get away with this. Right here, right now, is where we draw the line. The world is waking up, and change is coming whether you like it or not. Thank you.
She talked about how little the world can emit in carbon before the world goes over the tipping points. Several years ago, Bill McKibben had calculated the world's carbon budget and stated that companies and states had the fossil fuels to burn through that carbon budget 5 times over. In Connecticut, our crucial environmental fight is to stop the next natural gas plant from being built in the town of Killingly. It's all well and good to build solar and such, but if we don't stop burning fossil fuels, it's game over. Several climate activists and I went to Killingly, which is about an hour and a half away from New Haven by car. It's quite a rural area. It already has a methane burning plant in town, the Lake Road generating plant. Last year, these smokestacks sent an average of 6,000 tons of carbon dioxide a day into the air every day all year. About a half-mile away, a company wants to build another fracked methane gas power plant. Right now, outside of a sign and a gate, there's almost nothing visible of construction. But the major permits have already been approved for the plant. It's up to Governor Lamont to stop the project. A local state senator and around 25 state representatives have written to the governor. They did it on September 25th, and they're asking him to cancel the plant. Other political leaders in Connecticut need to step up to the plate. It's not a local issue. All of us on Earth have only one atmosphere, and we mustn't have another 2 million tons of global warming gases being pumped into that atmosphere every year. And we need to propose large-scale sustainable energy and transportation projects. We do not want to pit workers with good construction jobs against people trying to preserve a livable climate. This is a photo of people at the meeting in Killingly of the group No More Dirty Power in Killingly. Getting back to September 20th, here is video of the climate strike in Hartford.
Sena Wazer. She's a 15-year-old French and UConn co-communications director of Sunrise, Connecticut. First, I want to welcome you all to this event. It is so inspirational to see so many people here to demand climate action. I want to start by telling you about the story that changed my life when I was 5 years old. It not only got me started in environmental activism, but it also showed me that adults don't always take action to protect our planet. It's a true story about a whale named Ibis. In this story, Ibis got caught in a fishing net, but she was very lucky and she got rescued. At 5 years old, I loved that story. So I asked my parents to read me the author's note. And the author's note said that most whales don't get free, they die. I was horrified. How could adults not be doing anything to stop this? So I did what any little kid would do. I cried and whined outside for 3 days until my dad couldn't take it anymore and said, well, if you don't like something, then do something about it. So I did. I started working to protect whales, and I spent the last 10 years of my life lobbying politicians, speaking at events, and going into schools to educate people about whales in the ocean. But then, in October of 2018, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change released a report. Their report said that we need to limit global warming to 1.5 degrees Celsius. That 2 degrees Celsius of warming would be catastrophic, and that we have 12 years to accomplish these goals. And for the first time in my life, I felt like this problem was too big. Like there was nothing I could do to help combat climate change. And I was also so scared. Because at that time we had 12 years, now we're down to 11. And in 11 years from now, I will be 26, and my sister will be 24. And I still want a safe future for us and our generation. And that is when I joined the Sunrise Movement. And ever since then, I have been taking action on climate change. The other speakers are going to help educate us on a lot of important issues related to climate change. So what I want to do is I want to talk about something that is also very important to our climate fight. The 2020 election. As you know, this election is coming up. And we don't just want to get a climate denier out of the White House. We want to elect a climate leader instead. Some politicians will say that small incremental changes are all that is possible. But that time is over. Perhaps if we had acted upon climate change in 1960, when we first identified that CO2 levels were rising. Perhaps if we had acted upon climate change in 1979, when we determined that doubling CO2 in the atmosphere would raise temperatures 3 to 8 degrees Fahrenheit. Perhaps if we had taken action in 1989, when George H.W. Bush was elected president and promised to do something about it. Perhaps if we had taken action in the past, we wouldn't have to take such drastic action now. But we didn't. And now it's a huge weight hanging over me, my generation, and future generations. But we are here today to get rid of that weight. To tell public officials that even though they may think the kind of climate action we are asking for is impossible, we know that it is not only possible, but necessary. 50 years ago, humans accomplished something momentous when the first man set foot on the moon. When President Kennedy first proposed we do this, there were many technical challenges that seemed insurmountable. In fact, President Kennedy even said, we choose to go to the moon in this decade not because it is easy, but because it is hard. Fighting climate change has similar challenges. We don't know exactly how to solve all the technical challenges of switching to a sustainable world. But we do know that we are not fighting for just one community or one generation. We are fighting for all people. And we are working towards clean air, clean water, and a livable future for everyone. And we are not doing this because it is easy or because it is hard. We are doing this because our future is at stake. The 2020 election is our last chance to have a commander-in-chief who can take action on climate change and prevent the worst consequences from happening. But I won't be old enough to vote in this election. So I'm asking all of you who are or will be old enough to vote to get out there and to do so. I'm asking you to vote for me and my generation. I'm asking you to vote for our future. I spent the last couple months helping plan this event. And what I really want to see come out of all this planning that was put into today is not just one day of action. I want to know that all of you are going to go home and continue to take action.
Yes!
Yes!
That you're going to go tell others what we learned.
Yes.
And that you're going to become a climate activist. This way, in 2020, we will take back our future. And we will ensure a just and secure future for all. Thank you. Sonia Berry, who's from Sunrise, Connecticut, and a student at Wesleyan, is going to talk to us about the impact of climate change on immigration. Before I start, I just want to give a huge round of applause to Sena and everyone from Sunrise, Connecticut. This is crazy. And she's our own Greta. She's only 15. I've memorized the consequences of climate change as if they were vocab words. I've used them in every essay, exam, or explanation as to why I'm an environmental studies major and not something I can actually get a job in. Sea level rise, storms, droughts, erosion, landslides, flooding. It's easy to say, just like news is often easy to ignore. Sea level rise, storms, drought, erosion, landslide, flooding. Today, there are at least 20 million people that have abandoned their homes because of such consequences. 20 million is more people than those displaced by war and political repression combined. 20 million is also easy to say, but it's not easy to think about. I think about my home, the people that live there, the places I love, the food and goods it provides for the rest of the world. And then I think of it underwater, destroyed by a storm, eroded, how there is nothing left to save and nowhere else to go. And then I think of that through 20 million eyes. Thank you, Sonia. She mentioned solidarity. For too long we've been told that you can't have green jobs and a green economy and that these two things are separate. So I'm glad to welcome our union brothers and sisters here to this climate rally. And I'd like to introduce the president of SEIU 1199, Rob Burrill.
Good afternoon. My name is Rob Burrill. I'm the president of District 1199, the New England Healthcare Employees Union. We're the largest union of healthcare providers in Connecticut with 25,000 members, from doctors to nurses' aides to housekeepers to dietary workers. And we are both proud and honored to stand with you on this glorious day at the youth-led Climate Justice Strike. We thank the Connecticut Roundtable on Climate and Jobs for leading this effort and for helping to empower our young people in the youth climate strike. We're a union of caregivers with progressive values. Our top priority is providing the highest quality of care for people. And so our union is well aware of the critical importance of addressing climate change and doing so with urgency. Every one of us knows that climate change is hurting poor and working class communities. In our own country, 10 years ago, Hurricane Katrina led to the deaths of over 5,000, almost entirely black and brown, almost entirely poor, and all working class people in the city of New Orleans.
Learn the song so you can go out and do it yourself. They're really powerful, they're really motivational, and they're a lot of fun.
They try to stop us, but we keep coming back. They try to stop us, but we keep coming back. We gonna rise up, rise up to this one. Rise up to this one. We gonna rise up to this one. What? We gonna rise up to this one. Rise up, the power is down. When the people rise up, the powers come down. Stop us, but we keep coming back. They try to stop us, but we keep coming back.
All right. But I'm going to talk to you guys about the need for affordable energy in the state of Connecticut. This one's a personal issue with myself, and this is the first time I'll be talking about it in this day. so bear with me. So, the price of energy is something that affects everyone, especially here in the state of Connecticut. We have the third highest energy rates in the nation. That's absolutely insane. Now, my parents got divorced when I was 5 years old, as do many families in today's world. And I ended up living with just my mother and sister. And despite being a white male who normally come off as having a decent amount of privilege, my family struggled with our finances throughout my entire life. And we've gone through our share of rough times. In particular, my family has consistently struggled to pay for our astronomically high energy bills. Now, I remember when I was much younger than I am today, coming home off the bus to find yet again the power out, which could be fixed in a few hours with my mom pleading with the energy company for just pleading for a few days before the energy bill, or before the paycheck came in. But as a kid, I didn't understand that, not one bit. I just wanted to come home and watch my TV and maybe play some Xbox. I remember being upset with my mom, my own mother, and having some sort of resentment about it all. But at that age, I didn't really understand what was happening, not really knowing why it happened to me and my family, and not all my friends. Not understanding that my mom was just working to make ends meet, and if it meant a couple days of electricity, we can make it work. If it meant keeping the power on, or myself, or perhaps my sister, going on a field trip we've been begging her about for a month, it meant we were going to go on that field trip and sacrifice the energy, the electricity for 2 days. Now, as I got older, I obviously came to understand why all this happened, and felt extremely guilty about how I used to feel in regards to it all. I watched as my sister got older, and I got wiser. My sister grew bitter, frustrated, and reached the same point that I had reached. And seeing how that affected my mom, knowing that's exactly how I must have been at that age, is something I can never take back. Now, years later, here I am in front of you all, working on environmental policy and with all these youth movements. And last year, I was privileged enough to be a part of the Governor's Transition Committee on Energy Policy. There, I discovered something astonishing. While discussing policy at the table with the governor and with many other groups involved, they're discussing how over 400,000 Connecticut households cannot pay their energy bills when it comes time to pay those bills, and they're turned off. Now I realized, sitting at that table, I was part of that statistic, and that hit me hard. Statistics that they were discussing in that room, and I was a part of it, and I never thought about that before. I know so many people are affected by this issue, and I know a lot of people have it far worse than me, or how I had it. But with everything coming full circle, and me getting into environmental work to stop climate change and other issues, and suddenly here I am presenting the data regarding how my life has been leading up to this. And as I stated, Connecticut has the third highest cost of energy in the nation, and our people do suffer. I know many have had it worse. But I'm not here, and I'm not going to stand by and let more children get off that school bus in elementary school and despise their mom or dad or whoever's taking care of them because they don't have power that night. I'm not going to let families have to choose between a meal on the table or lights and heat in their home. Not in my state. That's not the state of Connecticut I know. Connecticut cares about its people, and I think this is an issue this state needs to tackle. And there's an easy answer. This answer is often overlooked, even by the environmental groups. It's called energy efficiency. And it's the most effective and easiest way to fight climate change. Many of you might have no idea what that is. This might be the first time you're hearing about this term. And energy efficiency isn't a sexy term like solar or wind power. It's not. But energy efficiency has kept our state from building 3 new power plants, fossil fuel plants, in the last few years.
Did you know that the Connecticut Siting Council just cited in June another natural gas plant in Killingly. Natural gas is not only bad for the climate, it's dangerous. And I want to invite Madeline Lavard, who's a high school producer for Under Pressure, up to tell you her story.
My name is Madeline Lombard, and I rode the bus from Northampton, Massachusetts today, so I could share my experience last year producing a documentary called Under Pressure. The school project began as a narrow investigation of the gas explosions in the Merrimack Valley of Massachusetts last year. What happened? Who was responsible? What was the damage? How did folks get their heat back? But, often to the annoyance of my classmates, I kept pushing to open the lens of our study, to connect these explosions to the fracked gas that caused them, and to the larger story of how our dependence on gas accelerates our climate crisis. The Under Pressure film ultimately connected those dots. Now it is this powerful youth-made mobilizing tool. Use it to help fight new gas infrastructure in Connecticut.
Hear from Greta Thunberg's Twitter account a view of some of the 500,000 people who marched in Montreal, Canada on September 27th. Next week, video of the climate strike in New Haven. We would be remiss if we didn't mention the incredible bravery of hundreds and hundreds of people in Egypt who demonstrated against their fascist, murderous government. They took their very lives in their hands. Over 2,000 were arrested and thrown in al-Sisi's dungeons. That's our program for today. See you next week at this time. I'm Stanley Heller for The Struggle.